Hi everyone, I'm Raymond Braun here at the Democratic National Convention with Chelsea Clinton. This is such a treat. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us.
I'm really excited that you took time out of your busy schedule to talk with me this morning.
I've read a lot of coverage about your parents saying that you were really an inspirational force in their evolution on marriage equality. And so I would love if you could talk a little bit about those dinner time conversations that you had with your parents about the LGBT community and maybe some of the points that you shared with them that really resonated.
Well, I think what gave me sort of additional ammunition in those conversations is when I got engaged. And so although it was something that my parents and I had talked about for a long time, and it was the starkest difference between kind of my positions and my mom's positions in 2008 when she ran. I think when I got engaged to my now husband, Mark, it gave just sort of additional impetus for me to talk to my parents a lot about this, to say, you know, I get to marry my best friend. And I think just continuing to humanize that, and also so many of my friends are LGBT, and so many of my friends wanted to get married, and so I think even more powerfully was hearing from my friends they hope to be able to have the same story that my parents had, that Mark and I were going to have, is what really made a difference.
Speaking of your friends in the community, we spoke to Jason Collins, and he speaks so highly about the advice that you gave him when he called you to come out and was kind of speaking through everything before he came out to the world in such a powerful address. Could you just tell me a little bit more about those conversations and also just what being an ally means to you and why you think it's so important for people to be proactive allies?
Well, I love Jason and his twin brother Jaron, and I thought they did such an amazing job in their speech here in Philadelphia, and so I hope that people saw that, and if they didn't see it, they'll go online and watch it. Although, Raymond, as we were talking about beforehand, when Jason said we've been friends for almost 20 years, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so old. That was like a whew moment. But they really, I thought, in many ways, kind of answered your question. You know, with Jaron standing there so proudly beside his brother, and then just beaming when his brother was speaking. I don't think there could be a stronger example of the types of relationships that we all, I think, hope to have, relationships about love and common purpose, whomever we may be, whomever may be on the other side of that friendship or more kind of intimate relationship. Or I don't have siblings, but I would imagine kind of with a brother or sister. And so I just, watching them, I thought, gosh, you know, I hope that my children will support each other the same way. I hope that Charlotte and Aiden will be able to kind of stand there so proudly to celebrate whatever their differences may be and whatever their identities may be, or whomever they may love, or whatever they may want to do. And so I just think they gave us such a strong example of why allyship is so important. And I hope that lots of little kids were watching that too, because it's certainly what I hope my children will manifest later in their lives.
As someone who's kind of grown up in the Democratic Party and been to a lot of conventions and events, could you just talk a little bit about how the culture has changed throughout your lifetime towards LGBT people within the Democratic Party?
Well, we're looking more and more like our country. I think that's something we can all celebrate, and we certainly still have work to do. But I think in some ways, you know, the progress that we've made in the Democratic Party in kind of what we look like and who we're celebrating and who we are proactively giving a voice to, and who we then in turn expect ourselves to listen to and respond to, I hope will be a harbinger for where we're going as a country. And I think it's just such a stark contrast to what we saw last week in Cleveland, as well as what we heard and kind of what we read out of the Republican Party's platform. So I hope that for young LGBT people who may not have made up their mind, or really for anyone who may not have made up their mind yet in this election, you know, they will both listen to what the speakers are saying, but also look at who the speakers are and also read what the different parties stand for, because I think the contrast is really stark. And certainly now, as a mom, when I think about the world that I want my children to grow up in, it certainly kind of looks like what we're moving towards here in Philadelphia. And I just am so proud to be part of a party that I think is moving in the right direction.
Do you think that we'll see an openly LGBT president in your lifetime?
I hope so.
Me too.
I hope so. I hope that we see multiple women presidents. I hope that we see multiple African American presidents. I hope we see our first Hispanic American president. I hope we see our first and maybe many more LGBT presidents, and then another Hispanic president, right? I hope that our leadership reflects our country, because we know that that potential is not kind of solely the province of men or straight people or white people or kind of any kind of unidimensional aspect of our country. So I certainly hope so, because if that's true, then we will be kind of getting the best and the brightest visionary leadership for our country, and that's what we all should want.
We have seen that your mother has released the most comprehensive and inclusive platform for the LGBT community in presidential history. Could you share an anecdote about her behind the policies and the platforms, how she feels about the community, her affinity for the LGBT community and her friends that are part of it?
Well, I can speak probably most easily about my friends, and it has been so wonderful for me to watch my whole life my parents embrace my friends and support my friends, and particularly for some of my female friends, for my mom to be a second mom to them in the way that many of their moms are second moms to me. But kind of thinking again about our conversation around marriage, it's just been so exciting for my parents, I think, now to celebrate the marriages of so many of my friends and their friends, and to feel that so deeply and authentically and joyfully has been such a gift to me. That's something kind of we worked on together, is giving them so much joy. And so if I think about kind of who sits around our Thanksgiving table, in which it's really, thankfully, kind of open doors for my friends, there are so many people now who are married there who couldn't have been just a few years ago. And I'm proud that my parents were kind of part of our national story to get there. And I'm super grateful that they're celebrating and grateful for that in a moment of such profound gratitude of Thanksgiving. And I'm just so grateful to be their daughter. Lots of gratitude all the way around.